Congratulations on your exciting opportunity to do business in Afghanistan. This training video is intended to serve as a tool for local government officials who are traveling to Afghanistan representing their locality for business interests.
As you know, an important part of any business venture is the creation and development of working relationships. In order to be successful in your ventures there are a few things you should know about social situations in Afghanistan.
First, it is important to be respectful of every culture, regardless of whether you agree with some aspects of it or not. It is not appropriate to make judgments on the quality of one culture over another. Respect is paramount.
Second, it is also very important to understand that just like in the United States, different geographical regions of Afghanistan have different cultural and ethical expectations. When in doubt, consult with someone who is knowledgeable about local cultural and ethical expectations and appropriate ways to behave. With the basics, meeting and greeting new people.
A few things to know. When meeting someone, the handshake is the most common form of greeting. You will also see people place their hands over their hearts and nod slightly as a greeting. One should always inquire about things like a person's health, business, family, etc. before discussing business. Except in business settings, women and men will never shake hands, let alone speak directly to one another. Eye contact should also be avoided between men and women except in business settings. Between men, eye contact is acceptable as long as it is not prolonged. It is best to only occasionally look someone in the eyes. Let's watch as Sammy and Eric demonstrate a proper greeting.
Hello, Mr. Understand. How are you doing today?
Very good, Mr. Elkins. Welcome to Afghanistan.
Thank you. Business going well?
Very good. How is your family?
Doing very well. Thanks for asking.
I hope you have a wonderful trip in Afghanistan.
I'm sure I will. Thank you.
Now that we have discussed meeting and greeting, there are a few special things we need to talk about. First, it's important for Americans to understand the differences in culture with respect to gender roles. Here are a few things to remember about gender roles in Afghanistan. Free mixing between genders only takes place within families. In professional situations such as businesses or universities, males and females may be co-workers but are nevertheless cautious to maintain each other's honor. In rural areas, women should not travel without the company of a man. In rural areas, if a man speaks to a woman directly in a social context, he is dishonoring her. If someone speaks to her on the street, this is equally inappropriate. A woman should avoid looking men in the eyes, and men should keep their eyes lowered when a woman walks down the street to maintain her reputation as a proper woman. Women must also dress properly to avoid unwanted attention. Always wear loose-fitting pants under your skirts, and be sure the definition of your legs is undistinguishable. It is also strongly advisable to wear a headscarf in public. On the other hand, foreign men should note that it is inappropriate to initiate social conversation with women, and one should not ask a male about his wife or female relatives. When you are introduced to someone, it is appropriate to ask about the family in general, but not about specific female relatives. Other than at official business meetings, men and women should never be alone in the same room. If this happens, you should ensure a door is left open. Men and women should never touch one another under any circumstances. So let's take a moment to show an example of appropriate and inappropriate dress for women. This is inappropriate. This is more appropriate due to its more modest and conservative nature.
Next, let's discuss the appropriate way to interact during a meal. Remember, customs are different in urban and rural areas. When in doubt, always watch your host for cues on appropriate behavior. Here are a few things to keep in mind. Always remove your shoes at the door of visiting a home. If eating at someone's home, you will be seated on the floor, usually on cushions. Food is served on a plastic or vinyl tablecloth spread on the floor. Wait to be shown where to sit. If you can, sit cross-legged. Otherwise, sit as comfortably as you can. Do not sit with legs outstretched or your feet facing people. In rural areas, and especially at home, food is generally served communally. Do not eat with the left hand. Always pass and receive things using your right hand too. In rural areas, food is eaten with the hands. Food is usually scooped up into a ball at the tip of the fingers, then eaten. In urban areas, food is usually eaten with utensils. Watch your host to see how they eat their food and emulate that behavior. If dining in a restaurant, you will usually be seated at a table and silverware may be offered. Again, keep an eye on your host for appropriate behavior. Do not leave a tip for the server. It is very common to be served tea many times in one sitting, and do not be bothered if your host pours you tea and sugar without consulting you first. If you happen to visit someone's homes during mealtime, it is considered disrespectful to reject food. Simply take a bite or two so that your host doesn't feel insulted. Also, always leave food on your plate or it will get filled up again. Appointments or prior arrangements are not required to visit someone's home. Here's a clip of how not to act.
Oh man, look at all this food. This is pretty nice. Hey, Sammy, how's that good looking wife of yours? She doing alright?
Thanks.
Oh, I guess then we won't talk about it too much. Hey, give me some of this food right here. Yes. You like this, just see it like this, right?
You might want to use your right hand.
Oh, no, I'm fine. This hand works fine.
It's better.
A clip of how an appropriate person would act.
Yeah, they always do that.
That was your family. That is something very much relevant.
Finally, let's talk a little bit about business meetings. Here are a few things to remember. Business is very much personal in Afghanistan. If you have not already invested some quality time in getting to know your counterparts, then you must use initial meetings to establish trust. Once this has been accomplished, you can move on to the nitty-gritty of business. Do not be surprised or offended if during meetings people walk in and out of a room or phone calls are taken. If the meeting involves a group of people, it will be led by the leader, who will set the agenda, the content, and the pace of the activities. Meetings are usually held to communicate information and decisions that have already been made, rather than a forum for discussion and brainstorming. Meeting schedules are not very structured. Start times, points of discussion, etc. are all fluid and flexible. Be prepared for a lot of tangents in the discussions. Afghan communication style is rather indirect. It is therefore sometimes necessary to read between the lines for an answer rather than expect it to be explicitly stated. For example, if someone is asked if they can complete a job on time, you will rarely get no as the answer. It is therefore also important to phrase questions intelligently. Open disagreement can be a source of tension. Convey your point indirectly so that the other side is not insulted openly. Honor and shame should always be considered. Always express yourself in a way that is not direct or pins blame on someone. Never make accusations or speak down to anyone.
Well, I'm glad we all finally got here on time, so let's get down to business.
Yeah, I think the fact of the matter is that we really need to go over these budget numbers before we can get a good idea of what's going to actually happen in the work that we're doing. You know, we need to make sure that our scope is going to be the same scope as that you're expecting. And you know, I guess he's leaving.
That really happened?
Okay.
Now that you have met your host and have begun discussing business with him, you are probably wondering whether or not you are expected to offer a bribe to the Afghan government official in order to close the deal and encourage them to do business with companies you represent. It is very important in your role as an employee of a local government that you understand that bribery is strictly prohibited. Although you may have heard statements such as, "it is expected," or "it is done all the time," you face serious consequences if you attempt to bribe a person in order to secure their business. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act makes it clear that businesses may not bribe foreign officials in order to obtain or retain business. Although you are an employee of your local government and not of the business per se, if you act as an intermediary, helping to negotiate contracts for business in your locality, you must not offer or facilitate bribes. The United States is a member of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. It has ratified the OECD Convention on Combating Bribery of Foreign Public Officials in International Business Transactions. By ratification of this document, it is clear that the United States is opposed to the bribery and is in support of protecting fair competitiveness in international transactions. Although Afghanistan is not a member of the OECD, you should still follow OECD guidelines in that country.
In addition, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has developed principles for managing ethics in the public service, which encourage accountability. The principles also encourage that the decision-making process should be transparent and open to the public scrutiny. Those words, transparent and open to public scrutiny, should guide your decision-making about what actions are appropriate. Both the United States and Afghanistan have ratified the UN Convention Against Corruption and can use the provision of this convention as a reference point, particularly in cases of conflicts or ambiguity.
International organizations such as the United Nations and the World Bank have developed a strong stance against corruption. Closer to home, Virginia's Conflict of Interest Act makes it clear that employees of state and local governments cannot accept or offer the following: any money or other thing of value for or in consideration of obtaining employment, appointment, or promotion of any person with any governmental or advisory agency. Any money or thing of value for or in consideration of the use of his public position to attain a contract for any person or business with any governmental or advisory agency. It is clear that bribery is not acceptable. While many people think of bribery simply as the payment of money, bribery can include broader areas of concern: giving gifts, paying for hospitality, paying for travel, political contributions, charitable donations, payment to facilitate decisions, as well as solicitations and extortions are all forms of bribery and are all illegal. The basic rule of thumb for you as a traveler abroad, representing your locality and attempting to secure business arrangements for the companies back home, is to pay for your own expenses following your local government guidelines.
It's nice to get down to business.
I agree. Yes.
Well, I have an offer here for you to look over, see if we can retain our business ties.
That looks good. Let me talk to my superiors and then we'll get back to you.
Is there anything I can do to possibly sweeten this offer for you? A trip somewhere? Any friends, family need a job?
Thank you. It looks good, but the law doesn't allow me to accept anything. I'm sorry to tell you this.
Understand. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Glad to get down to business.
Thank you. Do you have a proposal for me?
Yes, I hope you see everything you like and we can continue to work together.
Yeah, it looks very good, but it's pretty similar to the other offers I have received so far. And I guess you can work it out. My cousin, he just lost his job. He was wondering if you could help him out.
I'm sorry, but according to international and national corruption laws, I can't do any special favors for you. So I'm going to have to refuse that offer.
That's understandable.
Thank you.
Now that you have heard about different cultural norms and ethical principles in Afghanistan, you should have a solid understanding of the best practices when conducting businesses abroad. The business environment within Afghanistan is strongly based on relationships and is held to different ethical and cultural standards. It is therefore important to be well equipped with a basic understanding of expectations and cultural norms before leaving on your business travels. Again, it is always important to be respectful of the culture and to be aware of the differences in practice of those people you are working with. The information provided within this video will hopefully help to ensure a more successful trip that works to build relationships and maintain ethical principles. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the cultural differences in Afghanistan. If you are cognizant of the various differences in the way we do business, it will be more likely that you will be successful. We wish you well for your upcoming travels. Good luck, and as they say in Afghanistan, Assalamu alaikum.